Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivera. Welcome back to CBSN. Early voting is underway in the highly contested Georgia Senate runoff races. The two races will decide which party controls the Senate in January. President-elect Joe Biden campaigned in Georgia Tuesday, where he praised Democratic Senate candidates Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. They are running against Republican Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. In Atlanta, Mr. Biden encouraged people in Georgia to get out and vote, as they did in the November presidential election.
You voted in record numbers. You voted to improve the lives of every Georgian. And you voted as if your life depended on it. Well, guess what? Now you're going to have to do it again. I need 2 senators from this state who want to get something done, not 2 senators who are just going to get in the way. Because look, getting nothing done just hurts Georgia. Look what.
For more on this, I want to bring in Nsé Ufot. She is the CEO of the New Georgia Project and joins me now from Atlanta. Nsé, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you with us. Tell us how your organization is getting people to vote in the upcoming Georgia Senate runoffs. How are you replicating the kind of enthusiasm Georgia saw in November?
Right. Well, I think that what we saw in November was actually resolve and not necessarily enthusiasm. I know that that's a metric that we're used to sort of measuring voter participation, but things are really hard now. And through the hard, I think that we have gone about having sort of high quality conversations with Georgians about why their vote matters and connecting their vote to the things that they've told us already that they care about, the hopes that they have for themselves and their families, but also the fears and the concerns that they have for themselves, for their families and their communities. We're probably best known for having registered over 500,000 young people and people of color in all 159 of Georgia's counties. And the way we train our organizers is that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so we should be listening twice as much as we talk, because people, again, will tell you what they care about, and we connect the act of voting to the thing that they tell us they care about.
And the efforts from November were incredibly impressive. Georgia saw record high voter turnout with 5 million people voting. What kind of turnout compared to that do you expect to see for the Senate runoffs? Just in terms of numbers, do you expect it to be 3/4 as many, just as many, half as many? What's your sense?
Well, listen, I'm proud to actually eat my words in this moment. What I've been saying up to this point is that sort of historic turnout participation for runoffs of this kind is about 20%. And I knew we were going to exceed the 20%, but we probably wouldn't exceed the turnout that we saw in the November elections. And I don't know if I'm willing to stand behind that statement in this moment, that we have exceeded even the turnout from the November elections in the first couple of days of early voting. It's exciting. It's heartening to know that, my fellow Georgia voters understand the importance of this moment. And so I don't know if I'm willing to put a number on it anyway, because they have literally proved me wrong every single day of early voting, but in a great way, in the most awesome way possible.
So Stacey Abrams, the former Georgia House of Representatives minority leader, is the founder of your organization, the New Georgia Project. She made headlines in November as many credited her for helping President-elect Biden win the state. How much of an influence do you think she has had on the election?
I don't think that it's possible to overstate Leader Abrams' contribution to this moment that we're in, but to sort of elevating the importance of democracy. And our democracy, in that it's a living, breathing thing that we need to protect. Also raising the flag about the attacks that happened on our democracy. I think that before Leader Abrams and sort of her, the national spotlight, that there was a belief that sort of voter suppression was just, the Klan on the back of a pickup truck trying to intimidate Black voters. And she has shown that it is much, much more sophisticated than that, that there are race neutral ways to make it more difficult for Black folks to vote, to make it more difficult for young people to vote, that things that are race neutral or that appear race neutral on their face, from the voter purges, the almost 2 million people that have been purged from Georgia's voter rolls, to closing 10% of Georgia's polling locations. Even in this particular moment, we have seen the majority of counties in Georgia opt out of weekend voting for early voting, are fighting to expand the number of, we're fighting to have them expand the number of drop boxes that people can use to vote with. And so it's a constant battle. It's a constant struggle. And what we are now learning, because, again, of Leader Abrams and her contribution, is that it is the nature of battleground state politics that elections are decided by, one, who shows up, but also, two, whose votes get counted. And making sure that we have eyes on every step of the process is how a 0.25% margin between both presidential campaigns can survive 3 taxpayer-funded recounts and the numbers still be the same. I don't think that before Stacey Abrams' leadership and her rise to national prominence and her building the New Georgia Project and groups like Fair Fight, that we would have had the infrastructure in Georgia to maintain the integrity of our elections, given how hyper-partisan voter protection has become.
And of course, speaking of battleground states, Georgia is the epitome of a battleground state. It's been decades since Georgia has elected a Democrat to the Senate. Do you think that could change this January?
Yes. I very much think it could change this January if the turnout trends hold. During the first couple of days of early voting, over 40% of the folks who showed up to vote early are African American. And when we look at the sort of figures in Georgia, 71% of white voters in Georgia voted for President Trump, and he still lost. And so what is going to contribute to the sort of changing in Georgia, the changing of the electorate, is this sort of multiracial, multi-ethnic, multilingual, multi-generational progressive majority, and whether or not they show up and whether or not their votes get counted. And all signs seem to be pointing in the direction that they, are absolutely going to show up. And everyone is mobilizing in this moment to make sure that every vote gets counted.
All right. Well, Nsé Ufot, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Take care.